Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we got another news video here to discuss. We're looking at some of the games that happened over the past couple of days and previewing the next few days of game action. We're also looking at some signings from over the past couple of days, some injury updates. We're also looking at some trade rumors involving the Carolina Hurricanes, Vancouver Canucks, Boston Bruins, and Pittsburgh Penguins. And we'll do all of that coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to the video here at the Internet Hockey Channel. Before we get into this video, don't forget to like this video and subscribe down below. Thank you for all your support and the able with you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below and don't forget to leave a comment down in the comment section below so we can all discuss today's video. Now, as usual, I'm going to start today's video off by discussing some game reviews from our past couple of days. We had two games over the past 2 days and two interesting ones, so we'll do all those here. First, we had game one between the Oilers and the Stars. It was an interesting back and forth game. Oilers were able to open the scoring thanks to Leon Draisaitl to make it 1-0. Zach Hyman would then follow it up quickly after to make it 2-0. Looked like the Oilers would start to run away with it, but the Stars would crawl their way back. Seguin would score a couple of minutes after Hyman to make it a 2-1 game, and then in the dying seconds of the third, with about 3 minutes and 23 seconds left, Tyler Seguin would tie it up to make it a 2-2 game. It was then evenly matched for the rest of the third. It went to overtime. The entire overtime was pretty decently even matched, and then 32 seconds into double overtime, McDavid would end the game from Bouchard and Nugent Hopkins to make it a 3-2 overtime, double overtime win for the Edmonton Oilers. So very good stuff there for Edmonton. McDavid had a goal and an assist in this game. Hyman had a goal and an assist in this game. And Draisaitl also scored for the Oilers in the win. While Seguin scored both goals for the Stars in the loss as they fail to take the 1-0 series lead. So bad stuff there for Dallas as they fail to take the 1-0 series lead. And then yesterday we saw game two between the Panthers and the Rangers. Panthers were going to try and take a 2-0 series lead. The Rangers were able to open the scoring just 4 minutes into the game. Trocheck from Fox and Panarin made it 1-0. Then we saw Carter Verhaeghe late in the first period with only under 2 minutes left. On the power play from Bennett and Lundell made it a 1-1 game. That's the way it was at the end of one. That's the way it was at the end of two. That's the way it was at the end of three. We'll go to overtime, where there was just under 6 minutes left in overtime. Barclay Goodrow would score the overtime winner from Trocheck and Trouba to give the New York Rangers a 2-1 win in overtime. Very good win there for the Rangers. They were able to escape with the win and avoid the going down 2-0 going back to Florida to the Panthers. So interesting stuff there for the Rangers. As we head back to Florida for game 3 on Sunday. So interesting stuff there. Trocheck had a goal and an assist, and then Goodrow, who had the OT winner, also scored for the Rangers in the win, while Verhaeghe was one goal scorer for the Panthers in the loss. So a bad loss there for the Panthers who failed to take a 2-0 series lead. So those are the two games that happened over the past couple of days. Rangers win in overtime 2-1 to even up the series, and then the Oilers win in double overtime 3-2 to take a 2-1 series lead. Going over to the next few days of game action. First, later today at 5 p.m. Pacific time, we have the Oilers taking on the Stars in game 2. Oilers are going to be looking to take a 2-0 series lead, while Stars are going to be looking to even it up, heading back to Edmonton. Tomorrow on Sunday at 12 p.m. Pacific, we have the Rangers taking on the Panthers. Game 3 of that series, both teams are going to be looking to take a 2-1 series lead. And then on Monday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, we have the Stars taking on the Oilers. Stars are going to be looking to take a potential 2-1 series lead if they win tonight. Taking on the Oilers team, could be looking to take a 3-0 series lead if they win tonight. So that'll be interesting to see who winds up doing that. So interesting stuff there. But we have game 2 and 3 between the Stars and the Oilers, and game 3 between the Rangers and the Panthers over the next 3 days of game action. So some interesting stuff there. But that's your game preview for the next couple of days of game action. Going over to a couple of signings from our past couple of days, we have 6 signings to talk about that happened over on May 21st. So it's all of those here. So first, the Colorado Avalanche extended RFA goaltender Trent Miner, who gets a 1-year contract extension with a view of $775,000 that will be at the start of next year. Miner has been a decent AHL goaltender for the Avalanche for the past couple of years. Last year, playing ECHL Utah, putting up 3.04 GAA and a .910 save percentage in 37 games. This year, playing 18 AHL games, putting up a .930 save percentage and a 2.10 GAA. Looks like a fantastic goalie. I think could be eventually a solid third stringer for the Avalanche. That's a pretty good sign there for Colorado. Then we saw the Pittsburgh Penguins extend 3 players. First, they extended RFA Ivany, who got into some NHL action this year, signed into a 3-year contract extension with a view of $775,000 that will be at the start of next year. Ivany, like we said, been mostly an NHL player's career. Last year playing 63 AHL games, put up 8 points, 8 assists. This year had 4 goals and 15 points in 54 AHL games, and also had an assist in 14 NHL games. Looked pretty good. I think it was a good 6th, 7th forward for the Penguins, so it's a pretty good sign there for Pittsburgh. Then the Penguins also signed Philip Kral, who was a pending UFA defenseman, to a 1-year contract extension with a AV of $775,000 that we're going to start next year. Last year, Kral played in 24 games over the AHL, put up 6 points with the Leafs. Also gone to 2 NHL games, put up no points with the Leafs. This year, has been playing over in Liga, put up 5 goals and 37 points in 46 games over in Liga. Still looks like it could be eventually a solid call-up option. It's a pretty good sign there for Pittsburgh. Then the Penguins also signed the call-up option Jonathan Gruden, who's a left winger, to a 2-year contract extension with an AV of $775,000 that we're going to start next year. For Gruden, he played in 3 games last year at the NHL level, put up no points. Also played in 54 AHL games, putting up 31 points last year. This year had a goal in 13 NHL games, and also had 13 goals and 24 points in 47 AHL games. Looks like a pretty good player. Probably will still remain in the AHL for the next couple of years, but I think it's definitely still one of the Penguins' first call-up options. So it's a pretty good sign there for Pittsburgh as they signed Gruden, Ivany, and Kral. Then we saw the LA Kings give an ELC, the 2027th round pick, to Jamson. Jamson, who is a right winger, gets a 2-year ELC with AV of $853,000 that we're going to start next year. Jamson has been playing over in Liga. Last year, put up 14 goals and 32 points in 43 games. This year, 14 goals and 25 points in 36 games. So solid production there. It looks like it could eventually be a solid bomb 6-4 for the Kings, so solid sign there for LA. And then we also saw the Tampa Bay Lightning sign Dylan Gill to a ELC. Gill, who's a right shot defenseman and 2022 7th round pick, gets a 3-year ELC with AAV of $870,000 that we're going to start next year. Gill has been playing over in the QMJHL with Rowena, putting up 8 goals and 57 points in 68 games last year, only on to 12 games this year, but had a goal and 9 points, so looks like it eventually could be a solid, maybe 3rd pair defenseman for the Bolts, so solid sign there for Tampa to get their ELC done. But those are the signs from over the past couple of days. We saw the Avalanche extend goalie Trent Miner. We saw the Penguins sign defenseman Kral and St. Ivany, and the forward John Gruden to extensions. And then we also saw the Kings give an ELC to Jamson, and the Bolts give an ELC to Gill. So some interesting signs from our past couple of days. Going over to a quick injury update for the past few days. Jimmy Vesey is the only injury update from the past few days. He has an upper body injury and he's going to be out for an unknown period of time, so it's a bad blow for the Rangers to lose a solid bomb 6-4 like VC, so hopefully he's okay and he'll be able to get back in the game action not just in future. But that's the only injury update for the past couple of days. And lastly, going over to a couple of trade rumors. First was the Pittsburgh Penguins. Could we see the Pittsburgh Penguins this year trade Marcus Pettersson? Now, I don't think this is too far-fetched of an idea. Pettersson has actually worked out pretty well as a solid top 4 defenseman for that team. Played a lot this year with either Letang or Karlsson in that top 4, but he's going to be entering the final year of his deal. We know the Penguins want to try and change some things up, try and bring in a little bit of a new group, and I wouldn't be overly shocked if they tried to move on for some pieces. We know they've been talking about Riley Smith. Maybe there's a couple of other guys that could move, and I think Pettersson has to be included. Pettersson's going to be entering the final year of his deal. He's a solid top 4 defenseman, like I said, but I think he'll be valued amongst teams on the trade market, so I think there's a very likely chance that Marcus Pettersson could be moved. Like I said, solid 3rd pair defenseman I think could work out very well in a variety of different situations. I'm just not sure if he'll be back with Pittsburgh, so we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens there with Pittsburgh, but I've seen a couple of reports recently saying that the Penguins may move on from Marcus Pettersson. I don't have to agree. He's a solid top 4 defenseman, but with him entering the final year of his deal and the Penguins wanting a little bit more of a new change up in the lineup, I think there's a very likely chance we could see Pittsburgh move on from Marcus Pettersson this year, so we'll have to wait and see on that. Next, could we see the Boston Bruins go big game hunting? I think it's quite likely a possibility that we do see this happen. I've seen a lot of reports recently say that the Bruins are going to be looking for a top 6 winger this free agency. Now, we know they said that already, that there's a very likely chance that Bruss doesn't come back, who's making over $4 million. Grzelcyk, who's making over $3 million, is probably not going to be back either. There's been a lot of talk about moving Linus Ullmark, who makes $5 million. So there's a very likely chance that with moving all these guys, which frees up $4 million for DeBrusk, $3.1 million from Grzelcyk, $5 million from Ullmark, you're going to have about an extra $12 million cap space if that all works out. So they will have the cap space to go after one of these top end forwards. I've seen a lot of people link them to guys like Marchessault, Patrick Kane, Matt Duchene, Jake Gensel. So there's a couple of interesting options there. They could also use Ullmark to try and go after a top 6 winger on the trade market. I've seen a lot of people recently, including Elliot Friedman, link Ullmark to Carolina and think that maybe a guy who could go back would be Marchessault. I also could see him go after a guy like Andre Mangiapane, or maybe even try and bring back Taylor Hall. So it'll be interesting to see exactly which route the Bruins go, but we know that the Bruins could definitely use another solid top 6 winger. They were not the best offensively this year. definitely couldn't compete with the Panthers offensively, and I think this team could definitely use another top six winger. And I think if they go after a guy like Marchessault or Guentzel or Necas or Mangiapane or Duchene or something like that, I think they could be in a really good position on their forward group. So that's a possibility there that we're going to have to watch out for. And if they free enough cap space, look for the Bruins to try and go after a solid top six winger. And lastly, between the Carolina Hurricanes and the Vancouver Canucks, could we see a massive trade between the Hurricanes and the Canucks? Now, this was mentioned by Elliot Friedman on a 32 Thoughts podcast, but he said that he wonders if the Vancouver Canucks still have potentiality of being interested in Hronek-Necas. He said that when they were talking about the Elias Pettersson trade, not that he thinks it was ever close to being done, he says that Hronek-Necas was a guy who was in that package, and he does wonder if the Canucks still have some interest in Necas. Now, we know the Canucks, one of their top priorities for this offseason is getting a top six winger who can play with Pettersson. Because as good as Höglander, Podkolzin, and Mikheyev are, they're not the wingers that can make Pettersson into the beast that we know he can be. So it sounds like this team is going to be looking for a top-end winger this offseason to try and play with Pettersson, and Necas could be that guy. Now, I think they'll be much more willing to pay Necas $7.5 to $8 million on the forward group than they would be to paying a guy like Philip Hronek $8 million in the back end. So I think they will be much more willing to do that. So I think there's a very likely chance that we do see Necas wind up being a guy who the Canucks are really heavily linked to. Now, in a Necas trade, what will the Carolina Hurricanes want? Well, we know that the Hurricanes currently having a lot of their defense potentially go to the UFA route. The Angelo's UFA, Chatfield's UFA. There are two of their top four defensemen in Shea and Pesce UFAs. There's a very likely chance most of those guys don't come back, and then Orlov, Burns, and Slavin all a year away from free agency. So there's going to be a lot of movement on that blue line, not only this offseason, but potentially in the offseason in the future too. And there's a very likely chance we could see some major moves on the blue line. So if that's all going to happen, could the Carolina Hurricanes target Philip Hronek? Hronek, like I said in a couple of videos ago, I don't believe that Hronek is going to be a long-term Canuck. I think at $8 million cap hit, he doesn't work out for the Canucks with the guys they're trying to sign and keep around. So I think there's a very likely chance that Hronek winds up leaving. And if that's true, he's an RFA, so he will probably get traded. So could we do like a Hronek for Necas trade? I think it wouldn't be 1-for-1. I think Necas at this point in time is a lot better than Hronek, so I think it would have to be Hronek plus probably a second-round pick plus a decent prospect. Not exactly sure who they'd throw in, but I think they'd have to give up a prospect, Hronek, and a second-round pick in exchange for Necas. I think that's a sort of deal that could work for both sides. For the Hurricanes, it'll give them a solid top four right-shot defenseman. It'll give them another draft pick that they could use to go after a couple of pieces if they wanted to in the trade market, and it'll give them another young piece that they could probably use in their system. Meanwhile, for the Canucks, it'll give them a solid top six winger who could work with Pettersson, who I think they'll be willing to pay what he wants on a longer term deal and could really work out and fit really well with the Canucks. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens. This is just speculation from Elliot Friedman, but he does wonder if Necas could still be on the Canucks radar, and if so, could Hronek be a guy who the Canes wind up targeting in trade talks for Necas. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But that's all I'm going to talk about for today. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on all this down in the comment section below. What do you think about this possible trade? Could Hronek and Necas be included in a Canucks and Hurricanes swap? Is that possible? And if so, what do you think a trade would look like? Do you think that the Bruins could be looking for a top six winger this year? Do you think they could move Ullmark to try and get Necas? Or do you think they could move Ullmark to try and get another winger elsewhere? Do you think they could try and target a winger in free agency? Definitely have your guys' thoughts on that. Do you think that Marcus Pettersson will wind up being moved by the Pittsburgh Penguins? And if so, where do you think the best fit for him would be? Plus, what do you think with injury updates, signing updates, and game reviews from the past couple of days? Definitely have your guys' thoughts on all that down in the comment section below. That's all I'm going to try for today. Remember to like this video, and if you like it, remember to subscribe down below. Thank you for your support, and I will too without you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below. Don't forget to leave a comment down in the comment section below so I'll discuss today's video. Also a blog, talking about news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that, so if you check that out, I'll leave a link to that down in the description below, and I can't wait to see you guys all for the next video. See you guys soon.